For years, there was one name that defined jewelry in hip-hop: Johnny Dang. If you were a rapper and you wanted to shine, if you wanted your success to be seen, if you wanted something that made a statement before you even spoke, you went to Johnny Dang. He didn't just sell jewelry, he helped shape how rap looked, how it presented itself, and how artists expressed status. His grills became iconic, his chains became trophies, and his name became stamped into the culture itself. But like every major figure who stays at the top long enough, the story doesn't always end the same way it starts. Because in business, especially in an industry like hip-hop, the higher you climb, the more people either try to take your spot or tear your name down. And now, after decades of dominance, people are starting to ask why the rap industry seems to be turning its back on Johnny Dang. To understand that, you have to go back to the beginning. Before the fame, before the celebrity clients, before the name meant anything. Johnny Dang came from Vietnam, raised in a family of jewelers where the craft wasn't about luxury, it was about survival. Jewelry wasn't fashion, it was skill, precision, and discipline passed down through generations. When he came to Houston in the 1990s, he didn't arrive with money or connections. He started at the bottom, working flea markets, repairing watches, fixing small pieces, making barely enough to get by. But what separated him from everyone else wasn't just his ability to work with his hands, it was his understanding that skill alone wasn't enough. He needed positioning. That opportunity came when he crossed paths with Paul Wall. At the time, Paul Wall wasn't just another rapper. He was deeply connected to Houston's underground scene, plugged into the culture, and understood how trends moved through music. When Paul saw what Johnny was doing with grills, he immediately recognized something bigger than jewelry. This wasn't just about gold or diamonds, this was about identity. Paul Wall essentially introduced Johnny Dang into a new world, the rap industry, where appearance, image, and symbolism mattered just as much as the music itself. Together, they didn't just sell grills, they turned them into statement pieces. Johnny Dang's work started showing up in music videos, on stages, in interviews, and in everyday appearances by artists. Grills became more than accessories, they became part of the persona. When artists smiled, they weren't just showing teeth, they were showing status. And because of Paul Wall's influence and connections, Johnny Dang wasn't just behind the scenes, he was directly embedded into the culture. His name started getting mentioned in songs, his pieces were featured in videos, and slowly, he positioned himself as the go-to jeweler in hip-hop. Then came the explosion. As Southern rap grew, so did the demand for flashy, custom jewelry. Johnny Dang was in the perfect position at the perfect time. He wasn't just making pieces, he was creating recognizable symbols.
You know what I'm saying? So, yours is probably like 40, 30 to 25, this 100. How we done it? You can't come with nothing less than a good 80 bones if you want to get like me. But I thought I need flawless, a whole mouth, everything. Yeah, I'm fucking, I got 100,000 in my mouth, Johnny. What you gonna do?
His grills became famous worldwide. At that point, his brand was no longer local, it was global. Over the years, Johnny Dang became a staple in Houston, Texas. His shop wasn't just a place to buy jewelry, it became a landmark. Rappers from all over the country flew in just to work with him. His name carried weight, and in many ways, it became part of the identity of Southern hip-hop. Artists didn't just wear his jewelry, they associated themselves with him. Even newer artists coming up in the game understood his influence. That Mexican OT, one of the rising names out of Texas, even named one of his biggest songs after Johnny Dang, showing how deeply rooted his name had become in the culture. But as time went on, things started to shift. Not all at once, and not in a way that was immediately obvious, but slowly. One of the first major cracks came from inside his own operation.
Like I say, the loyalty is very, very difficult on the business.
Right.
A lot of young kids came in here, they see a lot of money.
Right.
That they never seen in their life. The dishonesty, the greedy happened in there.
A former employee, someone who had worked closely within the business, decided to leave and start his own jewelry brand.
Before I even left, before I even tried to leave, I didn't want to leave. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to leave, I wasn't trying to do none of that shit. I was trying to stay for the company.
This wasn't just another competitor entering the space. This was someone who understood the system, the process, and how everything worked behind the scenes. After leaving, that same former employee began speaking publicly, telling people that if they had purchased jewelry from Johnny Dang, they should get it checked.
Everybody who's watching, if you got anything from Johnny, check that shit, because that boy be putting that CBD shit in y'all shit. And I've had several clients who come in and they'll be like, bro, why my shit get tested CBD? Well, I don't fucking know shit. Y'all gotta ask Johnny, bro. That's Johnny's fucking, that's Johnny's production.
He claimed that some of the pieces may not have been what they were presented as, suggesting that items could be undercut or not matching expectations. Whether those claims were true or not, the impact was immediate. Because this wasn't coming from an outsider, it was coming from someone who had been inside the business. And in today's world, perception spreads faster than facts. Then came the situation that really pushed everything into the spotlight: Sauce Walka. This wasn't just any artist. This was someone who had a long-standing relationship with Johnny Dang, someone who had spent years buying jewelry, building trust, and supporting the brand.
Yeah, it's time to drip. It's the end of the year, and I wanted y'all to be clear that I cannot be with around here. New chain alert from Johnny Dang Customized.
Their relationship wasn't just business, it was personal, built over time through loyalty and consistency. But things changed when Sauce Walka decided to go in a different direction. Instead of continuing to work with Johnny Dang, he chose to get his next major piece done by that same former employee, Plug Geo.
World's most expensive grill, man. Sauce Walka, Plug Geo, you dig?
I'm gonna take out the Johnny Dangs and put in the Geos. I'm sorry. I'm taking out these and I'm upgrading to these.
And this wasn't a small decision. Sauce Walka was aiming to create one of the biggest grills ever made, something that stood out even among the most extravagant pieces in hip-hop. According to Sauce, the issue came down to creative differences. He wanted bigger stones, something more bold, more extreme, something that pushed the limits of what had already been done. But he claimed that Johnny Dang wasn't willing to go that route, that he preferred using smaller stones instead.
Out of my mind, which I don't understand. Johnny wanted to put some smart in my mind because he didn't want to go the size that I didn't want to go to, because he didn't want to do what I wanted to do for the money I'm trying to drop. That's not going to fit. It's not going to fit in your mouth correct. It's not going to, I don't give a fuck if it's going to fit. Make it fit. So I went to a nigga that made it fit. It made it happen.
He wanted something that made a statement at the highest level. So he made the decision to go elsewhere. And when he revealed the finished grill, he didn't keep it quiet. He made it public, showing that he had moved on and effectively upgraded his vision with another jeweler.
Let's be clear. Pardon me, let's be clear. This is Geo, this is not Johnny. No disrespect. But disrespectfully saying, so this is $1 million.
That moment alone sent a message, not just to fans, but to the entire industry. Because when someone who has been loyal for that long decides to leave, people start asking questions. And that's when the narrative really begins to shift.
Sauce, how long we know each other, man? Over some 20 years. I never gave you shit for free. But don't fucking disrespect my name, bro. Can you do that? Don't do that shit.
Now it's no longer just about jewelry. It's about relationships, trust, and positioning. It's about how quickly things can change when new players enter the game, when insiders become competitors, and when loyalty starts to break down. At the same time, the industry itself is evolving. New jewelers are coming up, new styles are being introduced, and artists are exploring different options. In a space where trends move fast, staying on top requires more than just reputation. It requires adaptation. And when someone has held the top position for as long as Johnny Dang has, it's only natural for others to try to take that spot. So when people ask why the rap industry is turning its back on Johnny Dang, the answer isn't simple. It's not just one moment, one accusation, or one situation. It's a combination of factors: changing relationships, new competition, internal conflict, and the natural cycle of an industry that's always looking for what's next. But no matter how the narrative changes, one thing remains true. Johnny Dang's legacy is undeniable. He helped shape an entire era of hip-hop culture. He turned grills into global symbols. He built a brand from nothing and turned it into one of the most recognizable names in the industry. At the same time, history has shown that no position at the top lasts forever. Eventually, new names rise, new ideas take over, and the spotlight shifts. And when that happens, people don't always celebrate what you built. Sometimes they question it. So the real question isn't just why the rap industry is turning its back on Johnny Dang, it's whether this is truly a fall, or just the next phase of a legacy being challenged.